This coin-operated viewer is facing southwest. Its coin slot is full of fossilized bubblegum, rendering the machine permanently inaccessible.
Probably some kids.
A thick layer of graffito covers the lenses. You spell out the word Onug written on the other side, with N and C scribbled backwards. That's Kuno on the lens. Under the graffito, a sea of blues and greys appear. Behind the water lies a coast studded with concrete and reeds. On it, a church on stilts, lanky weather-worn wooden planks, an X-shaped cross topping its tower. You know this to be the star of Pericanasis, or the Cairo, the central symbol of the Pericanassian church, a star. The church looks old and weather-worn. There are no lights in the windows. This coin-operated viewer is facing south. The instruction manual says to insert 25 centimes and pull the handle while looking inside. Then use the focus knob to zoom in if necessary. Why place a tourist attraction in the middle of such poverty?
There was a revitalization project in '49. A design studio tried restoring Martinez to its pre-war glory. It didn't stick. They got as far as the street lamps and the statue on that intersection. Then something went sour. I suspect that something was Everard Clare, the union leader. He muscled them out. It's how it usually goes around here. We should have done something about the union 10 years ago. That ship has sailed, officer.
Your money disappears into the coin slot, a clunk, the ring of metal. The curtains on the display open. You lean in to catch the view. It's blurry, different blues and greens. In the middle of the shimmer stands a drab grey shape, like a ghost. The lenses shift. The ghost sharpens into an islet in the bay. In the ruins, a man-made structure is visible, a half-sunken sea fort. Its concrete almost reconquered by nature. It looks as if it was abandoned quite some time ago. Nothing but a rotten tooth remains of the anti-aircraft tower. A lonely birch tree grows out of it.
Really? I don't have the eyesight to make it out.
Trying to sneak up on me? Come to slit my throat in my sleep?
Logic error. She is not sleeping right now.
Pig's come to take me out, trying to snuff me out. Don't get fucking clever with me, pig. You think you're so clever.
Hey, what's that noise down there?
must be another way to do it.
Can't get involved in this.
You see a young man on a balcony nursing a cigarette. His eyes have been following you for a while.
Not looking for any trouble, officer.
It's the voice of someone who has something to hide, my liege.
I don't want to be seen talking to the gendarmerie if that's okay. I just want to finish my cigarette.
Don't let him go. This could be your witness. The balcony has a great view of the whole thing.
Is it really that important?
Like a nervous cat, he keeps stealing looks at the neighboring windows.
All right, but make it quick. Once I finish this cigarette, I have to run. I'd even go so far as to say that the view is a little too good, my dear gendarme. Do you have an estimate of when the body will be taken away?
We will remove the body as soon as possible. Now tell us, where were you last Sunday?
Oh. You already asked me that, didn't you?
Wait, is someone else investigating the lynching?
No, not you. Some more muscular type.
And when did you speak to this more muscular gentleman?
Last week? I don't know. Look.
He's an actor declaiming a soliloquy. See how you hang on his every word?
You didn't answer the question. What were you doing last Sunday?
I had a friend over. It was my Sunday friend.
A Sunday friend. How intriguing. He doesn't reply, gesturing no with his cigarette. In the neighboring windows, you can see faint reflections of his silhouette, all from different angles.
My name? My name is Martin Martinez.
That's definitely not his real name.
No, of course not. Could you please lower your voice? No. We won't. Now, if you'll excuse me, I really need to get going.
Time to bring out your secret charm. Tears and begging. Show him your emotional side. Throw yourself before his very feet like a dog.
No, for God's sake, I don't want you to cry. Listen, I really have to go.
Ah, there it goes. Wasted. You would have gotten at least a few good drags out of it.
Good luck with the investigation.
He's gone. No point in running. Tenements like these often have multiple exits. If he doesn't want to talk to us, then he'll know how to hide himself. He could be a witness. Him or his Sunday friend. Either way, we need to look into that muscular type who's asking about our case. There has to be a way of getting inside the building. Once we've found a way in, we can ask around for his apartment.
This is a wall on the side of an apartment building.
The streets will flow red once more, a great torrent rushing down Rue de Espérance. You wait and see.
The streets will not flow red with anything. Who are you?
I'm Cindy the fucking Skull. What else do you want to know? Date of birth, blood type, the last time I was tested for Hep C. And here I was trying to be polite. Just can't win with you pigs.
The lieutenant furrows his brow at another one of your eccentricisms. Hatred, disgust, it's difficult to tell which of the two is more present in her girlish features. The woman on the boat does not notice her staring.
That is on her. Someone's got to keep an eye on her.
Ozon is an archipelago 2 days' travel away from Rivershore. Its moneyed residents, used to posh restaurants and upscale boutiques, rarely have reason to visit Martinez.
Probably the Wild Pines rep. We should talk to her. She's a professional negotiator, though. I have the feeling she will be very cooperative while telling us nothing. You should take the lead. Ask her unexpected questions, you know? Do your thing. Don't be afraid to get a bit wacky. Throwing her off is our best bet.
Good idea, piggies. Run along now. Fuck her shit up good. Impound that boat while you're at it. I'd like to watch her swim back to Ozon. Can't you tell? I'm painting a beautiful mural, an aereo graffitio visible from low orbit. I haven't really started it yet. I'm waiting for the right words. This place is severely lacking in havoc. Not even the occasional trash can fire to break up the tedium. I thought I'd mix it up, you know, summon the forces of crime and social chaos with a wall-sized invitation. Yeah? Thanks. I'm sure the inspiration will come to me now that I have an official RCM stamp of approval.
She means the opposite.
I ain't no snitch, pigstein. Go forth and forage in someone else's shit. No shortage of squealers in these parts.
Actually, there is a shortage of people who talk to us in a normal, calm, informative manner.
We weren't put on this earth to make your life pleasant, fucko. Watch your back, ungulate. You've got eyes on you.
Volumetric ship compressor. Bizarre scientific news from Rivershore West today, where a police officer's shit has been observed at a pressure of around 495 gigadecimals. These metallic hydrogen levels of shit togetherness were thought to exist only at the center of collapsing stars, not law officials. It remains to be seen how long the shit singularity lasts. striking woman leans against the cabin top of her sailing boat, smiling as you approach. Her green raincoat glistens with droplets. A silk scarf is tied around her throat.
Good afternoon, officers. I'm Joyce. Joyce L. Messier. I represent the board of Wild Pines, the owners of the harbour. You gentlemen must be from the RCM. Nothing, honestly. I've said it to every drunk in town, and you're the first one who's responded.
Relax. She meant it in jest.
Beaton, my maiden name. I'm glad to see you here. I was dispatched to handle a strike, not a lynching. Anything I can do to assist the RCM in this matter, I will, gladly.
That is good to hear, madame. My colleague will take the lead on this interview. I should let you know that he is recovering from an unusual medical episode. Very unusual. But I can assure you of his ultimate competency.
There's a trace of irony in his voice. Mischief, even. This is a tactic.
How interesting. I wish you a swift recovery. In the meanwhile, you have my full cooperation, and the full cooperation of the Wild Pines Group. What we do. I'm afraid I don't speak for Wild Pines as a whole. It's a giant undertaking.
There was a touch of discomfort there. She wants to merely represent.
The Pines' core competency is logistics. Container shipping, freight, that sort of thing. See those airships there, blinking? Those are the shipping side of things. And that is the terminal. Another subdivision deals with energy, oil and gas exploration, offshore platforms.
The Wild Pines Group is one of the original Revacholian Indo-tribes. Companies awarded royal monopolies by the king, the suzerain himself, centuries ago. The king is long gone, but several of the Indo-tribes remain.
Why, thank you. I'm not at liberty to discuss the company balance sheet, but I can tell you that last year, the company booked more than 20 billion real in revenue.
A billion?
Yes, past a certain point, numbers begin to seem imaginary, but they are quite real for the 72,000 employees who depend on Wild Pines for their paychecks. A conglomerate the size of Wild Pines is like a shark. If it stops moving and growing, it will die. Then what becomes of those 72,000 families? It is a tremendous responsibility. They started as an exploration and cargo fleet conducting trade between the Samaran and Insulindian Isolas 250 years ago, when pine ships explored the South Seminese and charted Lomantang on behalf of the suzerain. Centuries of care, deliberation, and madness have gone into this endeavor. Vessels pass through the great unrest to re-emerge with apricots in tow. The logic of the system is totalizing. It's taken everything from its employees to build it. You know more than you let on. Certainly it helped, but most of the original Indo tribes have failed or been absorbed. To survive, Wild Pines had to grow and adapt. No suzerain did that. You mean aside from being the terminal's legal owners, who are responsible for moving 8% of the world's cargo? There are no minor cogs in the system. Each terminal must be accounted for, lest the entire system break. Every hiccup in such a system means thousands lose their jobs, the world over. I'm here to assure that doesn't happen.
With your help, hopefully, says her warm tone.
Everything. Right up to, but not including, trade secrets. I believe the official title is Senior Labor Negotiator. In practice, I'm a grocery clerk. I relay the union's demands to Wild Pines and return with Wild Pines' counteroffer.
No way. She's more. She can make decisions.
And how are the talks going?
They're not. That's the problem. The union stopped all negotiations a week ago, after that awful lynching took place. Now they won't even let me into the harbour. There's a 2-meter 20 racist behemoth blocking the gates. What can I say? The union employs a giant covered in tattoos. A racist giant. I guess that's part of their big tent organization now. Let's say I was not making the kind of progress I'd hoped for when I first arrived.
And when did you first arrive?
I arrived 3 weeks ago. Yes, in the middle of February. The bay was still partially frozen then. I prefer to do these things on site, like the RCM.
But the strike began in December.
I wasn't the original negotiator here. I took over after Mr. Gaumont hit a wall with Mr. Clare, the union boss. Mr. Clare refused to speak with Gaumont despite concessions he'd granted the union in prior negotiations.
This isn't the first time the union has gone on strike.
Heavens no. There have been 2 prior strikes. Both times the union won significant concessions, including overtime pay and a medical plan. This time their demands are more, I guess you could say,
Ludicrous even. It's meant.
Mr. Clare told him to... how did he put it? Fuck off, midget. Gaumont is short of stature, you see. Yes. Keep in mind, this is a negotiator Mr. Clare has worked with before, and who was more than fair with him and the union. There are leaflets everywhere, and banners. What did they say again? Oh yes. Every worker, a member of the board.
Most of the workers probably don't know what that means.
Fortunately, they explained it. Every time the Wild Pines group makes a decision about anything, it needs the signature of each of the 2,200 workers in its Martinez terminal. Just so you understand, this is but one of 22 terminals owned by Wild Pines. Essentially, not only are they kings of the company, they are also kings of the 72,000 employees of Wild Pines Group. They're having a blast. But how can they afford it? After 4 months, my assumption was they would prefer a more practical solution. I'm not sure. Naturally, I assumed that was just their opening position, a hard-nosed tactic with a side of mockery. But there's been no follow-up, just the same nonsensical slogan repeated over and over again. And now, people are getting lynched, I hear. Behind the whirling in rags. A disastrous situation if there ever was one.
Excuse me, from whom did you hear about this lynching?
I first heard it from the boyer at the gates. The one whose very name advertises his aversion to work. I think he said it was, "Call me mañana."
This checks out.
Everard Clare is a man of the utmost integrity. If you can say one thing about him, it's that he always puts the interests of the workers first. Of course not. Everard is fantastically corrupt. I imagine he has a thick, viscous goo where you and I have blood. He is the most corrupt individual I have ever seen, and I deal with men like him for a living. If there is anyone more venal, more irredeemably nepotistic than it's his twin brother, Edgar. Yes, Edgar looks exactly like his brother, except for that lazy eye. He also talks exactly like Evrart does, and when one's term as foreman is up, the other takes over. It's how they circumvent the term limits, you see, with a funny little switcheroo. While in office, they've embezzled God knows how much of their workers' dues. The Debardeurs Union was once a perfectly normal institution. 20 years ago, anyway. It must not have been easy to establish under the Emergency Act, but they did it. I can respect that. Organised labour at its best, as they say. Then something happened in the local chapter elections. The brothers Clare came and transformed it into a... how do you say?
A mob. The Debardeurs are a crime syndicate. Sad as it may be, I suspect we'll be forced to cooperate with them.
Refreshingly honest, officer. The company has tried appeasing in the past, but I'm afraid our concessions have only emboldened Evrart and his brother. And your opinion, detective, if I may ask? I'm a curious and talkative person, you see. Would you say the Debardeurs Union is... Thank you for being candid. Sadly, Wild Pines have cooperated with what amounts to a crime syndicate for 2 decades. However much you feed the wolf always hungers. I'm glad you asked. There was a woman, the previous forewoman of the Union. She disappeared.
Disappeared?
Yes. On the last day of the local chapter elections, her daughter phoned in and said she wasn't running anymore, or coming to work. Ever. End of story. Indeed. The company suspects foul play, but there's nothing they could do. It was a union matter. The point of the presentation is, these kinds of things happen around the Clares. Watch out when you're dealing with him.
Thank you for your concern, ma'am. We'll be just fine.
Of course. How else can I help? Quite a few things, I'm afraid. The information I'm to share with you includes sensitive trade secrets. For the sake of my employer, I have to ask for your names and badge numbers.
Of course, ma'am. We should have introduced ourselves. I am Lieutenant Kitsuragi from Precinct 57. And this is my colleague from Precinct 41. I'm afraid he doesn't have his badge at the moment. I hope mine will suffice.
How curious. Why is that, Detective?
'Twas stolen by some artist, surely. Best to pin the blame on them. Everyone knows you can't trust artists.
I see. So, are you saying you lost your badge during the course of this episode? Oh dear. Some kind of encephalopathic amnesia. I don't even know how to respond. I do believe you, naive as that may sound. I simply can't imagine what you gain by faking such a condition.
As I said, ma'am, his technique may be very unconventional, but he is an officer of the RCN.
Of course, I sympathize, but I'm afraid I simply can't share anything more until I've seen that badge.
Hang on. She's a professional negotiator. She should be open to some sort of mutually beneficial arrangement. Feelings will guide the way.
I assure you, it is no small matter for me either. We all share the responsibility for disarming this situation. I hope you have a badge for me as soon as possible.
She's silent. The wind flaps the sail above her.
Officer. You know, I don't mean to sound cold, but if you want something, you have to give something back. More than just guilt.
You're doing it. Despite your own best efforts, you're still getting in. Somehow.
I'll be frank with you. If I'm going to break protocol, I need to be able to justify it to my superiors. They're going to want to see something tangible. The Union is conducting drug trade out of the harbor. It's an open secret in Martinez. Surely it must not come as a complete surprise to the RCM either. Perhaps it's time to look into it. Or you can find your badge, which honestly seems like a lost cause.
Detective, a word in private before we continue. This is not going quite as I hoped it would, Detective. Honestly, I was expecting you to use your unorthodox technique to keep her off balance, and not volunteer us to be her henchmen. This woman is running circles around us. She might have known about your misplaced badge all along, or she's simply an adept improviser. Either way, we've played straight into her hands. Oh, that would be fantastic, but do we have the time? The world is large and your badge is 8 by 6 centimeters.
The situation might have changed drastically by the time you locate it. Time is of the essence.
You could request a new one from your station, but that would literally take months. No. If there is reasonable suspicion, we must investigate. Otherwise, she could claim we are siding with the Union, or that we are on their take. We'd never hear the end of it. What I propose is, we ask her, then we investigate, briefly. But do not share the outcome of this investigation with her. We tell her it's done and demand for her information on the lynching.
You're back. Good. What can I help you with? It's quite straightforward. Someone is using Terminal B to smuggle raw ingredients from the Samar and Isola into Revachol with the Union's blessing. Wild Pines has suspected it for years.
Ingredients for what, ma'am?
Meth and dextroamphetamine, GBL, and various synthetic psychedelics. Honestly, it might be quicker to say what you can't make from the stuff. Yes. After they clear the terminal, we lose track. The actual production is taking place at various sites in and around Jamrock Quarter, north of here.
Wild Pine seems to be well apprised of the local drug trade, ma'am. Do you mean to say the Union also produces the product? Sells drugs, I mean?
We're in logistics. It's our business to know. And no. As far as the company knows, the Union does not produce it. They transport the ingredients for a cut. Yes, but you won't get anything out of Evrat and the Dock Workers Union. Still, every chain has its weak link.
The handoff. The motor lorries at the roundabout.
Perhaps you've noticed that a number of lorries are tangled in a traffic jam at the roundabout just now. Interview the drivers who are still hanging about. One of them might be waiting for a crucial shipment. I'll be explicit. If you find this driver, I will share company secrets with you. No. We asked East Motor Track to raise the drawbridge. The road company is a partner of one of our subsidiaries. However, this is a limited time opportunity. Once the complaint has been processed by the trade committee, they'll have no choice but to lower the drawbridge, and the operation will continue. Thousands of litres of raw ingredients will pour onto the streets of Revachol. Not the east across the river, but the west. The vulnerable, the weary.
Well, at least this solves one mystery.
What is that, Lieutenant?
Why I had to call East Motor Track and beg them to open a drawbridge for me. I'd wondered since I first drove in, on my motor carriage.
I am sorry for the inconvenience, Lieutenant Kisaragi, but we need them trapped here. This is a unique opportunity. I'm sure you understand. We did, on more than one occasion. Apparently, there's some sort of inter-precinct disagreement about whose jurisdiction this area falls under.
We know the company has launched its own probe into the union's alleged involvement. We also know it's come up empty. It's not just the RCM. No one's been able to find any hard evidence.
Well, here's your chance, officers. How do you think they're financing this strike? There are thousands of unpaid dock workers going strong for the 4th month straight.
There was a shakedown of local businesses preceding the strike. Many were squeezed to bankruptcy to fund it.
With all due respect to these desert cacti, the contents of a few cash registers cannot provide for 2,000 men. The local businesses can scarcely provide for themselves. Precisely. Smuggled out of that very gate at night, most likely, then loaded onto lorries and driven to Jamrock. You simply need to find one driver who will open up to you. Yes? Excellent. According to my reports, there are at least 3 lorry drivers lingering near the roundabout. Hopefully one of them will know something. It may come to nothing, or it may just blow the case wide open. I can keep the drawbridge up for a few more days at least. You should have the time you need. In the meantime, let me know if there's any other way I may be of assistance. Of course, Detective. Take care.
A sturdy metal door guards the southwest entrance to the apartment building. It's locked. This could be a way into the apartment building the smoking man vanished into. The door rattles against your knuckles, but there's no response. The door rattles again, but this time you hear an elderly woman's voice calling out from inside.
Stop banging on the door. I'm not letting any more strangers inside. Doesn't matter who I am. Now go on, get out of here. Ha! The police? Everyone knows the police don't come round here. No, I already told you. I won't be responsible for any more strangers getting into the building. Go check the backyard door. Maybe someone there will.
Backyard door. With the smoker. You already were there. Didn't work.
Madame, I assure you, we are real police officers.
There is no reply. Just faint, sweeping sounds inside.
Good. We had enough problems with bums and drunks and thieves loitering in the hallway. You have no business here.
You can't think of anything convincing. Time for some police brutality.
No, you're not.
You don't scare me, punk. I may be an old woman, but I can still take the likes of you.
Hello again, officers. Have you come to admire my mural?
There must be another way into the building.
Have you no shame? Whining about your back every time you bring out the measuring tape.
René, you're a man with a fork in a world of soup. Please, let's just try to enjoy the game, alright?
I'm trying to, but you keep breaking my concentration. You're old. I can see that. We're both old. Now stop grabbing your ass like it's a girl.
These manly men are playing balls. This is a ball game. Grab a ball and play it. Don't ask questions. Shoot first. Ask questions. That's the spirit. Don't even waste your breath asking about the game. They wouldn't know anyway. They're way past their prime. You are immediately surprised by the ball's lack of weight. No matter, you'll make it work. God, this is right. You feel the familiar tremble of excitement and adrenaline that precedes every victory. Time has frozen. A chilly breeze ruffles your hair as you stand there, feet firmly planted. All sounds, smells, even the wind, everything fades until the only thing left is the union of man and ball. The cold metal ball is surprisingly smooth against your neck. It has a pattern on it, probably a sponsored ball. Yours would only be covered with bumps of learning and scars of victory. Already your muscles are adjusting to the weight, the nervous system calibrating, until you and the ball have merged into a single entity. The man ball is ready.
Merde! Bordel de merde!
A whorehouse of shit? It wasn't whorehouse of shit. The shot was at least 23 meters, probably 24, and then some. Nothing to be embarrassed about.
What the hell is your problem? I don't care if you are a cop. You do not just ruin someone's game. It so goddamn disrespectful. You vandalized our game, son. We can't play pétanque with 5 pool. Well, it damn well isn't. It's pétanque. You ruined a pétanque game. We want our bull back.
Take it easy, René. This is just a misunderstanding, isn't it, officer? No harm done.
Of course there's harm done, you orange slug. You owe us a goddamn bull. Will this... No, it will goddamn not.
Thank you, officer. This is really something. Honestly, I think it's better than our old bull, even.
Mon Dieu. All right, fine. What do you want, officer?
Yes, why did you come here? It's unlikely they know anything about the murder.
Unfortunately, I don't. Unlike most of the locals, I have no qualms about assisting law enforcement. But this affair has passed me by completely. In Martinez, the union is the law. So can you really blame them? Cop is a pejorative term. I don't have a problem with policemen. On the contrary, I admire the effort to bring order to our streets.
He doesn't know about the crime. Your time is better spent discussing politics.
If I knew, I would not be afraid to tell you. I simply don't. I'm an old man, not a coward. The daily business of the riffraff no longer concerns me.
'Tis true, sire. He knows nothing.
Yes. The terrain here provides an interesting variety to a familiar game. I do. Fire from heavy artillery. Why what? Because that's what happens when communards hijack your country, execute your supreme leadership, and turn your capital into a slaughterhouse. You use heavy ordnance to clean up your home. Sadly, no. It was the foreigners who brought them to their knees. We fought valiantly. Too valiantly. So valiantly we got licked. Should have fought dirty, like they did with their suicide sex cult propaganda and mad anarchist women strapped to shrapnel bombs. We didn't though, and we lacked caliber. God bless him, but the suzerain's cannons simply weren't big enough.
It was probably a bit more complicated than that.
Because this place is a damn beachhead. Had to soften the commies up first. Yes, the military coordinated amphibious landing to take back Revachol. Martinez was used as one of the 3 footholds in Revachol during Operation Deathblow in 08. The other 2 are off in Stella Maris and the Delta. This here is Blood Ground, where coalition boots first made landfall and cleaned those rabid dogs out. Most likely, we're playing pétanque on their mangled corpses.
Blood ground. You got old René going there. Like he isn't hungry enough already.
Damn right, son. They laid the fire of hell on the city before they stormed it. And it worked, too. The rest of the city got cleaned up, but Martinez they keep as a monument. And now the Union Socialists are practically running the place.
Well, it's your own damn fault. You, we, the coalition, Revachol, whoever you want to blame, never finished the job. Officially, the party never surrendered. Of course they still hold influence.
You don't even begin to truly understand the players at the table, let alone the specific circumstances surrounding the... What do you think?
Thinking men have opinions on these things. Present one.
I'm sorry it had to be them. After 8 years of fighting those hyenas, boiling cats for food and drinking piss in the mountains, I would have preferred if the Right Honorable King Guillaume returned through Revachol, or even if that damn clan Frisel had risen from the grave and led us. Sadly, that was not the case. Instead, all that is just, holy, and beautiful in the world was wiped away, and now it's neon signs with toothpaste ads everywhere. Foreign influence peddling garbage and stupid music on the radio. This is just what the commies wanted. This was their plan all along. This is what they wanted to replace the role of the suzerain with. Damn Frisel. He was the king we couldn't protect. The Carabineers failed him, and the crown. He died in the hands of the Hyperlay, in a very public execution. A true king in both blood and mind led Revachol before Frisel. He would have been better, but the damn commies drove him into exile.
Some manner of self-deceit is present in his thinking. Sounds like this Guillaume abandoned him, and he doesn't want to admit it.
The suzerain is the king! Has everyone forgotten already? They've forgotten already. It's no use talking to you. You were still in Daddy's balls when it happened. When we took our last stand against the filth and rode the cavalry straight into gunfire. It's a Belle McGrave, 4.46 caliber, breech loading, Revachol made. Good weapon, accurate and reliable. This one's inoperable. The bolt spring is missing and the mechanism is jammed shut. Still a beauty. Where did you find her? I'm not surprised. There are probably lots of forgotten wartime weapons lying around here. Back in the day, everyone had something stashed away. As for the rifle, I don't know what else to tell you. These BM-446s are an antique. No one uses them anymore. The ammunition is impossible to find.
Indirect modes of taxation. Turns out, those Financial Oversight Committee gangsters stuffed millions of hard-earned dividends away in the last place anyone thought to look, the hearts and minds of everyday Revacholians. You need to spread that deregulation gospel to the people. Tell them about that foreign fair tax. Preach that 98% gross burden. Preach it, preacher man. Set the brothers free. Taxes are racist. You see rows of toy soldiers guarding the rest of the trinkets displayed on the table. Some on horseback, others in rags, others yet in bright blue uniforms. All are stern and unyielding in their duty. Try to find something pretty and cool here, then use it to win her back. Yes, buy something nice, a figurine. Why, what's this? A headless man riding a horse? A headless man wearing futuristic tracksuit trousers that say found.
Oh, that's the headless phone rider. There's been a lot of interest in that particular figurine. I had to hide it so it wouldn't fall into the wrong hands.
He doesn't elaborate on these wrong hands. It's unlikely that he ever will.
I've heard about it. I've heard the headless phone rider rides a headless bull.
Yes, there are several competing versions of the story, but I believe this figurine is a more canonical representation. The Headless Phone Rider. It's an urban legend about a man who rides the streets of Revachol sporting a fawn tracksuit. As you see, he's missing his head. 50 cents. Bargain price. I'll throw in the tiny cap too. I think he's looking for it, or something. That part of the story has many interpretations. Did I mention that this figurine is supposed to be lucky? Always carry it with you. It's not often that I see officers from the RCM in my pawn shop. What can I do for you?
His courtesy is not insincere, but he prefers being alone with his projector, just watching the movement of light across the walls of the shop.
Oh no, not at all. I guess I haven't had many customers lately, RCM or otherwise.
Who are your customers usually?
All kinds of people come through here. Locals, travelers, people looking for a deal, people looking for a keepsake, people who are terminally bored. As you can see, I have a wide selection of goods for everyone to choose from. It keeps me entertained.
Entertained? He might be high. If he is, on what? Okay, he definitely is high. Whatever it is, you've probably done it, and many other things besides. But you can't cut through the jumble of sensations to get to the answer. Looking at his wares, talking to him, that might give you more clues.
Someone else came here earlier today asking the same question. I promptly sold her the gun you pawned a couple days back.
This is a pawn shop, and it did feel as if you've met before. Oh God. The lieutenant shifts from one foot to another, alert.
You were adamant about getting rid of it, officer. Said you were undeserving of a service weapon of the Revachol Citizens Militia. And I don't like keeping guns around the shop for long. Off-the-charts photon emissions. The unhealthy kind. She didn't seem like a policeman. although she kept referring to herself as a pig, which was odd. I found her interest in the gun a bit obsessive, but I was just happy to get rid of it, and of her. Truth be told, she was terrifying.
Right, so let me get this right. You sold your sidearm, issued by the citizens' militia, and now a civilian is running around the streets of Martinez with it? You're right that she could cast aspersions on the Force. We have to find her.
My apologies, officer, but I have no idea where she was coming from or where she went.
A needle in a haystack. There is nothing you can do about it now. You'll just have to hope you luck upon her somehow.
Of course. I doubt it, but I can try and answer any questions you may have. I do my best to keep my distance from all manner of butchery. Bad for business, bad for everyone.
He doesn't know anything. The pawnbroker's gaze is already fixed on a typical Martinez streetlight sits among assorted floor and table lamps.
It was brought to me to be altered.
We are not here to investigate the theft of city property. You have to admit it's rather clever what he's done with it.
Hello again. How can I help you? Let me have a look. Anything else you're thinking of selling? Another time, perhaps.
G'day to you, officers.
A burly man hangs out by the waterlock, carving up a generous serving of salami with an old hunter's knife. His eyes are fixed on a man stranded on the other side of the waterlock and on an enormous billboard that has fallen down into the canal between them.
I wasn't here to witness it, but those look like tire tracks on that sign. Weird, huh? Then again, plenty of daredevil drivers in Revachol.
The words daredevil driver sound ominous to you.
Too bad it also takes a year and a day to repair anything around here, especially a waterlock. The rest of the coast is closed off till then. Well, there's the fishing village, an abandoned fish market, a bizarro church. Not much use to the congregation, though. There always seems to be something wrong with it. Yeah, not really much else. Just bombed out ruins. Sure thing. Want some too, officer?
Why not?
couple of indicator lights are missing from this control panel. Loose wires dangle from the now vacant holes. In the middle is a lever. Beneath it, a small metal plaque. This panel usually closes the water lock, turning it into a bridge that lets you cross the canal. But there's a crashed salmon and butter sign in the way. Pulling the lever probably won't do anything. A crumpled billboard reading, Samaran butter soaks in the canal. Two ugly lines mar the bright countenance of the blonde boy depicted. Whatever it is, the boy on the billboard seems very happy about it. Goat milk butter. The Samaran terrain makes it easier to raise goats than cows, and the local goat farmers produce high-quality meat and dairy staples that add variety to other nations' diets. It's an acquired taste. Judging by the size of the impact and the parallel lines of burnt rubber, the cause was probably a motor vehicle. Side slip marks indicated that the vehicle was traveling up the crater at 35 kilometers an hour. The black marks on the roof indicate that the vehicle vaulted from the crater to the roof of the shack. The panel served as a takeoff ramp. The vehicle soared through the air, hitting the billboard and upsetting the posts. Then it continued its flight, taking the billboard with it. The sign broke the vehicle's fall into the canal. The Samaran butter billboard still looks freshly painted, suggesting it took the plunge recently, within the past 72 hours. Still speeding, the vehicle made a loop and vanished into the fog along the coast. There are two good candidates, the Caprice 40 and the Linéaire G22. It's about the right size, and the tire marks look like they came from the skinny tires frequently found on that motor carriage. The Caprice 40 is a very popular model, with bank clerks, topping pie delivery drivers, secondary school teachers, cops, strippers dressed as cops, undressed strippers. Very sturdy but light motor carriage, more likely than most to survive that jump. The Linéaire G22 is not a particularly popular model due to its peculiar proportions, which the manufacturer's design team probably thought about for too long. You'd have to follow the tracks to be sure. The lieutenant looks on, waiting for you to wrap up your analysis.
Any theories about what happened here? What kind of car do you think it was? That's quite likely, from what I can tell. Oh. The traffic hooliganism? I hope not. Fortunately, we are not traffic cops. Should we get back to the murder? If we must.
I'm not expecting him to get far with this, the lieutenant consoles himself. A rusting control panel with loose wire. This panel usually closes the water. You pull the lever all the way up until the metal clicks against the contact pins. You hear a soft clunk. Then nothing happens. Nothing happens. A cold gust of wind blowing in from the sea interrupts the silence of the situation. A spring brings the lever back to its original position. You still need to close the waterlock to get across the canal. Some other way. Wasn't there a sign over there saying functionality will be restored on Wednesday morning?